Ji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Aditi Devi Dasi from Canada.
Hare Krishna, Aditi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your recitation. Welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna, Vinita.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees. This is Sanita Ramya from Sharjah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your recitation. Welcome to the call.
Krishna, Vinita Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada. This is Preeti Vilasni Devidasi from Atlanta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasni Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your recitation. Welcome to the call. All glories to your services. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, is there anybody who would like to?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All praise to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Puranga. And to all the assembled devotees, this is Megha from Naperville. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your recitation. Call.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shama Gauri Devi Dasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Shama Gauri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your recitation. All glories to your services. Welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Yashamati Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your recitation. Welcome to the call. Hare Krishna, is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves? Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karna Devi Dasi from Lincoln. Thank you so much, Mataji, for your services. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Karna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your recitation. Welcome to the class, Mataji. All glories to your services. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves? Please go ahead.
Shall we start, Mataji? Prabhuji is
Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Prabhu to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam 6.7.2-12 verses. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for joining and giving your valuable time and association this morning. Before I hand over the call to you, I request Aditi Mataji, please give a brief introduction of today's speaker.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is a brief introduction for His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Prabhuji. His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Prabhuji is a disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj. Prabhuji took his Krishna consciousness while at college in 1998. He did his undergraduate at BITS Pilani, doctoral degree at Texas A&M, and postdoctoral work at the University of Wisconsin Medicine. He is a professor of obstetrics and gynecology in the United States. He has been chanting 16 rounds for over 24 years. Wow. Prabhuji is very versed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrit, and has read Chaitanya Charitamrit over 50 times. He has been doing edifications of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam for Bhakti Prishas. Over to you, Mataji, and Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji.
Aditi Mataji, thank you so much for that introduction. Hare Krishna, Jayananda Gauranga Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for your valuable time and association this morning. I now hand over the call to you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Thank you, Vinita Gandharika Mataji, for asking me to speak on these verses this morning. I just want to confirm that you're able to see my slides and also able to hear me.
Yes,
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udhiraye nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtikim om ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्याश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A number of these verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam 6.7.2 onwards are clubbed. The translation is clubbed, so I'm reading the verses together. Only the last verse, the 12th verse, has a purport. Shri Bhadarayani Ruvacha Indrastri Bhuvaneshwarya Madolangita Satpataha Marudbhir Vasubhir Rudhrer Adityer Ribubhir Nrpa Vishwadevescha Sadhyescha Nasatya Bhayam Parishratah Siddhacharana Gandharbher Munibhir Brahmavadibhi Vidyadharap Sarobhischa Kinnerehi Patagoragahi Nishebhyamano Magavan Stuyamanascha Bharata Upagiyamano Lalitam Ashthanadhya Sanashatah Pandurena Tapatrena Chandramandala Charuna Yuktaschanye Parameshte Chamara Vyajanadibhi Virajamanaha Paulamya Sahardhasa Nayabrasham Sa Yada Paramacharyam Devanam Atmanaschaha Nabhyanandata Sampraptham Pratyuthana Sanadibihi Vachaspati Munivaram Sura Sura Namaskritam Nochachala Sanadindra Pashyanapi Sabhagatam Tato Nirgatya Sahaza Kavir Angirasaha Prabhu Ayayau Swagraham Tushnim Vidhan Shri Madavikriyam Tarhi Eva Prati Buddhendro Guru Heranam Atmanah Garhayam Asa Sadasi Swayam Atmanam Atmana Ahobata Maya Sadhu Kritam Bhai Dabra Buddhina Yanmai Shwaryamathena Guru Sadasi Katkrataha Ko Gridget Pandito Lakshmim Tripistapa Paterapi Yayaham Bhavam Nitodhya Vibudeshwaraha. Translations. Verses 6.7.2-8, Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, once upon a time the king of the heaven, Indra, being extremely proud of his great opulence of the three worlds, transgressed the law of Vedic etiquette. Seated in his throne, he was surrounded by the Maruts, Vasus, Rudras, Adityas, Ribhus, Vishwadevas, Adhyas, Ashwin Kumaras, Siddhas, Charanas, Gandharvas, and by the great saintly persons. Also surrounding him were the Vidyadharas, Apsaras, Kinnaras, Patagas, and Uragas, snakes. All of them were offering Indra their respects and services, and the Apsaras and the Gandharvas were dancing and singing with very sweet musical instruments. Over Indra's head was a white umbrella as effulgent as the full moon, fanned by the yak-tail whisks, and served with all the paraphernalia of the great king. Indra was sitting with his wife, Sachi Devi, who occupied half the throne. When the great sage Brihaspati appeared in that assembly, Brihaspati, the best of the sages, was the spiritual master of Indra and the demigods, and was respected by the demigods and demons alike. Nevertheless, although Indra saw his spiritual master before him, he did not rise from his own seat or offer a seat to his spiritual master, nor did Indra offer him a respectful welcome. Indra did nothing to show him respect. Verse 9. Brihaspati knew everything that would happen in the future. Seeing Indra's transgression of etiquette, he completely understood that Indra was puffed up by his material opulence. Although able to curse Indra, he did not do so. Instead, he left the assembly and in silence returned to his home. Verse 10. Indra, the king of heaven, could immediately understand his mistake. Realizing he had disrespected his spiritual master, he condemned himself in the presence of all the members of the assembly. Verse 11. Alas, what a regrettable deed I have committed because of my lack of intelligence and my pride in my material opulences. I failed to show respect to my spiritual master when he entered this assembly, and thus I have insulted him. Verse 12. Although I am the king of the demigods who are situated in the mode of goodness, I was proud of a little opulence and polluted by false ego. Under the circumstances, who in this world would accept such riches at the risk of falling down? Alas, I condemn my wealth and opulence. The last verse has a purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. O my Lord, I do not aspire for material opulence or wealth, nor do I want a great number of followers to accept me as their leader, nor do I want a very beautiful wife to please me. Mama janmani janmani ishvara bhavata bhaktihi ahaitaki tvai. I do not even want liberation. All I want, life after life, is to be a faithful servant of your lordship. According to the laws of nature, when one is extremely opulent, one becomes degraded. And this is true both individually and collectively. The demigods are situated in the mode of goodness, but sometimes even one who is situated in such an exalted position as King Indra, the king of all the demigods, falls down because of material opulence. We are now actually seeing this in America. The entire American nation has tried to advance in material opulence without striving to produce ideal human beings. The result is that the Americans are now regretting the wholesale criminality of American society and are wondering how America has become so lawless and unmanageable. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 6.7.2-12, Nate vidu swarthagatim hi Vishnum, persons who are unenlightened do not know the aim of life, which is to return home back to Godhead. Therefore, both individually and collectively, they try to enjoy the so-called material comforts and they become addicted to wine and women. The men produced in such a society are less than fourth class. They are unwanted population known as Varnashankara, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. An increase of Varnashankara population creates a hellish society. This is the society in which Americans now find themselves. Fortunately, however, the Hare Krishna movement has come to America, and many fortunate young men are giving serious attention to this movement, which is creating ideal men of first-class character, men who completely refrain from meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling. The American people are serious about curbing the degraded criminal life of their nation. They must take to the Krishna consciousness movement and try to create the kind of human society advised in the Bhagavad Gita. Chaturvarnyam mamaya shrishtam gunakarma vibhavasha. They must divide the society into the first class men, second class men, third class, and fourth class men. Since they are now creating only men who are less than fourth class, how can they avoid the dangers of a criminal society? Long, long ago, Lord Indra regretted his disrespect to his spiritual master, Banaspati. Similarly, it is advised that the American people regret the mistaken advancement in civilization. They should take advice from the spiritual master, the representative of Krishna. If they do so, they will be happy and theirs will be an ideal nation to lead the entire world. Jai Shri Prabhupada. So, the first aspect which I had put for this discussion this morning is it's sometimes possible for us to assume, why is it that Indra, in so many instances, there are reasons for slipping. In this case, the disrespect of the spiritual master, Brihaspati. So I thought it would be a good exercise to first examine who are in the assembly of Indra. So many times when we read these verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, at least I read them quickly and move on to what is the gist in that verse and what is it that is to do with Krishna consciousness. But in this verse, there are so many of the denizens of the higher planetary systems and who are mentioned in this verse. I thought it would be a good place to just examine why is it that Indra would be in such a situation. So the first of the beings who are mentioned here are called the Marut. Okay, the Maruts, they are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam just in Canto 6, chapter 18, verse 19. And this will show us the position of Indra and his exalted position in terms of his material opulence. Marutascha Dite Putra. So it's clearly stated here that the Maruts, they are born to Diti. The 49 Marut demigods were born in the womb of Diti. So Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary of the Srimad Bhagavatam, he remarks that Indra, by his yogic power, he first expanded the body of, he did not want that Diti to conceive these children, because the reason it's for having this Marut, this children in the womb, is to destroy Indra himself. And so he first expanded the body of one Marut into 7. And then when he cut each of these 7 parts, so 7, he first he cut them into 7. And each of the 7, he cut them into another 7. So that means like 7 times 7, 49 pieces. And these 49 pieces, because the Diti, when she performed this, she performed Vaishnava etiquettes, they turned out to be powerful demigods. And they became the 7 groups of winds which flow throughout the space atmosphere. So these are the 49 Maruts. They are 7 group of winds and they flow throughout all the space atmosphere. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Marichir Marutham Asmi. So among the Maruts, that Krishna is Marichi. And this is in verse 10.21. So the commentary of that is brief by many of the Vaishnavacharyas, but Sridhara Swami, the original commentator of the Srimad Bhagavatam, he has written a commentary on this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, where he says Lord Krishna is the wind known as Parivaha, which precedes all others and bears the name as Marichi. Okay, so what is the wind? Marichi is the wind known as the Parivaha, and this is the principal wind, and that is what Krishna identifies himself in this verse, Bhagavad Gita 10.21. So, and he also says that it should not be misconstrued that Lord Krishna is talking about one of the six great sages who were born from the mind of Brahma. Okay, there is another Marichi there, and that is not this Marichi. Okay, so these are children of Diti, and that is very clearly written in the commentary of Sridhar Swami. So these are out of the 33 principal demigods, these Maruts are part of them. Okay, so this shows the exalted material opulence of Indra. And why is it easy for a person of such exalted opulence just to slip in receiving his spiritual master? The next exalted people who are mentioned here are the Vasus. And generally, in most scriptures, if you see even in the Bhagavatam, whenever Maruts are mentioned, the next demigods who are mentioned are the Vasus. And even in, for example, it's not just in the Vedas, the Puranas, like even the Vaishnava Acharyas, the Sri Vaishnava Acharya called as Nammacharya, he had written a path by which the living beings, after they quit the body, they travel through the space to go to the Vaikuntha. And on his way, the Maruts, and he again states there that the Maruts, Vasus, they all pray to these Vaishnavas who move from the material realm into the spiritual realm. The song is called Sur Bisumbu, and there again he states Marutarhalu, Vasurkalu. So that means the Maruts, Vasus. So they come in the same order almost in most places. So the Vasus, so where is the mention of this? The Prajapati Daksha, who is known as the Prachayatasa. So this is during the time, this is not in the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where that particular Daksha, he appears during the Swayambhuva Manu period. And in the Swayambhuva Manu period, at that time, that's the incident with Sati. Okay, so now here we are talking about in the sixth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Here it is with Prajapati Daksha, and here he is the Prachetasa, and he begot 60 daughters in the womb of his wife, Asikni. And one of these 10 daughters is given to Lord Yama. Okay, and her name was Vasu. And here in the Bhagavatam in 6.6.10, it says Vasavos Thau Vaso Putras. So that means that these 8 children, always there are 8 Vasus. Independent of the Manmantra, there are 8 Vasus. And here they are born to Vasu, who is the daughter of Prajapati Daksha. And this is during, not in the Swayambhuva Manu period, but later. All this started in the during the Chakshusha Manu period, and then it goes all the way to the Vaivasvata Manu period. So, it's likely that this happened in the Vaivasvata Manu period. That is the current Manu. The sons of Vasus are listed again in the Srimad Bhagavatam here, and just here their names. So here they are Drona, Prana, Dhruva, Arka, Agni, Dosha, Vastu, and Vibhavasu. So there is another mention of Vasus also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that in third canto, this is the conversation with Maitreya Muni. There Uddhava is one of the eternal associate of the Lord, and his plenary portion is also one of the 8 Vasus. What is the overall role of the Vasus? They are also in charge of the universal affairs along with the Devas. So depending on the different scriptures, if you see them carefully, like if you see the Mahabharata, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also gives the names of the 8 Vasus, but there are extensive differences in the names of the Vasus in the Mahabharata and the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and what the Bhagavatam says. And many Vaishnava Acharyas and learned personalities have commented that these differences also account to which Vasus they are speaking about, in which the Vasus appearing in which Manmantra. So, for example, the 8 Vasus in the different Manmantra, even within the same Kalpa of the Brahma, they have, there are different names and they appear differently as well. So the ones that are mentioned in the Bhagavatam are the 8 Vasus. Because the scriptures, they take different episodes depending on the purpose, the Bhagavatam, whatever the Bhagavatam wants to convey, they take different examples, and for those different examples from different manvantras, they take their respective examples. In the same way, the Mahabharata, the reason they take a different set of Vasus, because there in the Mahabharata, they are trying to explain the appearance of Bhishma, who's also cited in the Bhagavatam in the first canto. But there is a Vasu who's called as Prabhasa, and this Prabhasa appears as Bhishma, and therefore that is in a different manvantara. Okay, so depending on the scriptures, so one shouldn't get confused that there are differences between scriptures. There are no differences between scriptures. It depends on which manvantara they are explaining in those scriptures. And generally all the devas, they're also expansions of Narayana. So the Bhagavatam 5th canto 20th chapter verse 3 to 4, you can see that this is very much in association with the Narayana Upanishad, which is one of the Maha Upanishads out of the 108 principal Upanishads. There again, it says that every creative, every entity in the creation is an expansion of Lord Narayana. And that is corroborated here in the Canto 5, chapter 20, verse 3 and 4. And in the 9th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can also see that Vasudeva, okay, this is who was the religion personified, also had a wife named Sahadeva. And the 8 sons born of Sahadeva, okay, and some of them are mentioned, mentioned here as Pravara and Shruta, were exact incarnations of the 8 Vasus in the heavenly planets. So this is all the description of the Vasus as found in the Srimad Bhagavatam, with differences in the Vasus appearing in the other manvantaras in the Mahabharata, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and so on. The next set of the Devas, which are mentioned in this verse, are the Rudras. Okay. And this is the verse which is in the first kalpa of the that is the first kalpa, first manvantara, Swayam Bhuvamanu. So here we can see here the verse 3.12.12. Manyur Manu Mahinaso Mahan Shiva Ratadhvaja. Shiva, this is Shiva. Okay. And here Lord Brahma says, my dear, so from Lord Brahma, the Rudras appear. Okay. They're always 11 in number. Okay. The number of Rudras is 11. Just as you have Ashtavasu, 49 Maruts, 8 Vasus, 11 Rudras. Okay. These are all standard sets of numbers. Independent of the manvantras, they always appear in these numbers. So in Canto 3, chapter 12, verse 12, Lord Brahma says, my dear Lord Rudra, my dear boy Rudra, you have 11. So there are 11 of them. And who are they? Manyu, Manu, Mahinasa, Mahan, Shiva, Ritadhvaja, Ugraretha, Bhava, Kala, Vamadeva, and Dritabrata. So, and they have 11 wives. And okay, and they are called the Rudrani. And who are the 11 Rudranis? Dhi, Driti, Rasala, Uma, Niyut, Sarpi, Ila, Ambika, Iravati, Swadha, and Diksha. So if you see this list here, you can see that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Rudranam Shankaraschasmi. So out of the Rudras, he is Lord Shiva. That is Shankara. So who is the best of the Rudras? And so again, this is mentioned in the 3rd canto of the Bhagavatam. But again, in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, just in the previous chapter, we could see in 6.6.17, we would heard that a daughter of Daksha called as Sarupa also gave birth to 11 Rudras. Okay, so she marries Bhuta, but Bhuta has 2 wives. One of the wives gives birth to the 11 Rudras, and the other wife gives birth to 1,000,000 Rudras, but they are basically ghosts and hobgoblins. Okay, so Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur clarifies that in his commentary. And then he also says in the Bhavartha Deepika, so that one of them, Sarupa, the daughter of Daksha, gave birth to 11 Rudras, and the other wife gave birth to the associates of Rudras known as the ghosts and the goblins. This is 6 points. And here the names of the 11 Rudras are mentioned, and these are entirely different names. And these are expansions, and we can see that they also, the Rudras, they also would have it's not just in terms of time, because this is in terms of the Manvantara, but you can also see that there are expansions in terms of the location, okay, in terms of the locus. For example, like how Karanodakasaya Vishnu, he then expands the Vishnu in the causal ocean. He expands in each universe in the Garbhodakasaya Vishnu and then Kshirodakasaya Vishnu. If you see Brahma Samhita, verse number 5.15, there it says, from Karanodakasai Vishnu, the prototype Shambhu, he appears from the between the eyebrows. Between the eyebrows, he appears. That is verse 5.15. So you can also see that. And from the left leg, Vishnu appears. Okay, and then from the right leg, Brahma appears. And then, but that Brahma is not the Brahma, the four-headed Brahma of this universe, but it is the cause of all the Brahmas. That is mentioned in, and it is the details are mentioned by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in verse 5.15 in Brahma Samhita. Now let's go to the Adityas, who are the again mentioned, and these Adityas are also there in Indra's assembly. And who are the Adityas? And they are Viveshwan, Aryama, Pusha, Tvashta, Savita, Bhaga, Dhata, Vidhata, Varuna, Mitra, Shatru, and Urukrama. And these are the 12, and this is clearly in the 7th Manvantara. These 12 are the sons of Aditi, and therefore they are called Adityas. And this is in the period of the Vaivashvata Manu, Canto 6, Chapter 6, verse 39. And the names of the 12 Adityas are mentioned. And I put a picture of them, which I found here in the web. And here, in the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's clearly stated that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as the youngest of the Adityas, known as Vamana. And he is mentioned here as Urukrama. Urukrama is extremely attractive as Urukrama Hari. So it's very, and that verse is, we can see that in many places in the Bhagavatam as well. Atma Rama Muniyo Nirgrantapi Urukrame. That Urukrama Hari is very, very attractive Hari. That is Lord Vamana. And he is mentioned here as known as Vamana the dwarf. His father was Kashyapa and his mother is Aditi. So, and they are called the Adityas in 8.13.6. And this is in the Vaivashvata Manu, the current Manu period. And in the Bhagavatam, there is a verse which is identical to that of the Bhagavad Gita. I am Vishnu among the sons of Aditi, Adityanam Aham Vishnu. The exact verse appears in the Bhagavad Gita, 10.21. And the same verse appears in the Bhagavatam in 11.16.13, Adityanam Aham Vishnu. Because of his, and here, for this verse, Bhagavad Gita 10.21, Madhvacharya actually writes the commentary for this Adityanam Aham Vishnu. Because of his trident, all encompassing steps, he is known as Trivikrama. So he makes the 3 steps, another name of Vamana Deva as an incarnation of Vishnu. Okay, so we can also see in the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 12.11.27, again the 12 Adityas are listed there, and they say that these are nothing but the different forms of the sun god. So, and that picture is there at the bottom of this slide here, as the Adityas as the 12 forms of Vishnu. And each of the 12 months, beginning, this is the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, says that every month, a different expansion of these Aditya, they will mount on the chariot of the sun god. And for each month, there is a different name. And here, all the names are identical to that of Bhagavatam 6.6.39, except that instead of Urukrama or Lord Vamana, he is directly mentioned here as Vishnu. He is directly mentioned here as Vishnu. And so this is the, and these are the 12 Adityas. So there's not much confusion about this. So, and then we will also briefly look at who are others mentioned in this, in the verse with Indra, and one are called Ribhus. So the Ribhus, they are mentioned here as Ribhu Nama Tapasa. So this is Canto 4, Chapter 4, verse 33. So this is in the Swayambhu Manu period. So Daksha, he is performing the sacrifice, and then all the incident with Lord Shiva happens, and then Sati, she burns herself in fire, and after that all the confusion happens. At that time, Bhrigumuni, he comes and then he offers oblations in the fire, and immediately many thousands of the demigods called Ribhus are manifested. All of them are powerful and having achieved the strength of the Soma, the moon god. And there it is mentioned in the very next verse that when Ribhu demigods attack the course, okay, and the goblins with half-burned fuel from the Yajna fire, all these attendees of Sati fled in different directions and disappeared. Okay, so he wanted to clear all that commotion there and that happened in that thing. So this is about the Ribhus, okay, and then the Vishwadevas and the Sadhyas. The Vishwadevas and the Sadhyas, they are again treated here in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the sons of Vishwa, okay, where this is one of the daughters of Daksha, mentioned in the previous chapter of this verse, the sons of, and they were called Vishwadevas, and who had no progeny, and then from the womb of Sadhya, who is another daughter, the Sadhyas were born, and who had a son called Artha Siddhi. Now, so they are also there mentioned in the assembly of Indra. The last I'm going to discuss is the Ashwini Kumaras, because the rest all seem a little more understandable for everybody, who are the like the Gandharvas and Charanas and so on. So Ashwini Kumaras, they are two, okay, just like how Rudras are 11, Adityas are 12. You have the Maruts, you have 49, and then in the same way, Basus are 8, and the Ashwini Kumaras always appear in pairs. They are always 2. And who was the Ashwini Kumaras? Chaya, who is so the sun god has 3 wives. The first wife is Sandhya. The second wife is called Chaya. So Chaya had 3 children, and the third child is Saran. Okay, Sanishwara. But he had a third wife, and he's called Bhadava. And she gave birth to 2 sons, and they are called the Ashwini Kumaras. And that is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th canto, 13th chapter, verse 10. Ashwinau Bhadava Atmaja. Atmaja is children, and Bhadava is the wife of the sun god. So these Ashwini Kumaras, okay, they are the physicians of the demigods, and they are also present in the assembly of Indra. So now we can see what is the position of Indra and what kind of associates that he's surrounded by. And the position of, so we examine now the position of Indra. We will also now examine the position of Brihaspati. Brihaspati is Jupiter. The best of the sages, was the spiritual master of Indra and the demigods, and was respected by the demigods and demons alike. Just like how the demons have their spiritual master, who is Shukracharya, who is the planet Venus, the demigods' spiritual master is Brihaspati, who is the planet Jupiter. Nevertheless, although Indra saw his spiritual master before him, he did not rise from his own seat or offer a seat to his spiritual master, nor did Indra offer him a respectful welcome. Indra did nothing to show him respect. So when one is seated in that kind of an assembly, these kind of slips are possible and likely. So in the material world, what to speak of Indra, it's so easy for any of us to slip and perform a mistake. The destiny is very powerful. As one is put into distress by destiny, destiny can also put in one in a very happy situation. Destiny is extremely strong. It is so easy to slip in the material world. But The Brahma Samhita says, Karmani nirdhati kintucha bhakti bhaja, but one can use one's free will to change one's destiny to come to the platform of, if one comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Unless one comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, a man's destiny is therefore ascertained by the birth time. This is in purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.12.12. All these things are directly taken from purports of Prabhupada's conversations. A man's destiny is therefore ascertained by the birth time constellation of stars, and a factual horoscope is made by the learned astrologer. So it is so the material situation is a very risky situation, and the destiny is very powerful. But this can be changed if one can come to the platform of Krishna consciousness. So in this case, like the situation that happens with Indra, what does the Bhagavatam say? And what do the scriptures say in general is that when one slips and is put into these kinds of difficult situations, so one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. And this tolerance does not come artificially, but it needs to come naturally. So repeatedly, what Bhagavatam teaches us is to how to tolerate distress. In the current material world, what we can see is whenever one faces problems, we are taught in this material world to not tolerate our distress, but to react to the distress. But the Bhagavatam says the opposite. The Bhagavatam says to tolerate it, because after all, it is a material situation, it is ephemeral, it is in our perception, these material distresses are actually illusory. In reality, there is actually no distress. So we must tolerate and give this message to the people, and we need to be very immersed. So a devotee should learn how to tolerate all such awkward positions. So here Indra himself is facing an awkward position, and he has realized it just a bit late. Devotees are often tortured by non-devotees, yet the pure devotee, depending fully on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is never disturbed by such inimical activities. So even in this material world, there is distress all over, but we need to learn how to tolerate it. So there are two things here. Krishna can always remove the distress for us, but the devotee, the pure devotee, is not seeking that path where he is incessantly praying for Krishna to make the material situation better. Krishna can always do it anytime. The entire material universe is under his disposition, and he can always change the material situation for us anytime. But the pure devotee is not looking forward to those kinds of situations, but instead he or she learns to tolerate the pure devotee. They learn to tolerate it because in real knowledge, they know that these distresses actually don't even exist. They are neither real, none of this distress actually even exists. But with all humility, they accept until they come to that platform called as Shuddha Bhakti or pure devotion. They practice how to tolerate this distress, as these distress has been given to us in our reformation from moving from this material consciousness into spiritual consciousness. And how do we do this? Is with all humility and gratitude. And that is what in many of the instances we will see with Indra and Lord Brahma, that how we need to do that is with all humility and gratitude that we pray. We get so our lives are actually pretty good, but we always see in a clean slate, we see only the fault. But if we don't see the fault, but we see the clean slate, we will see how much Krishna has already given us, instead of just seeing the one or two things which is not probably there in our perception in our material world, in our material life. And therefore, very important for us is humility. Two aspects here to please Krishna. One is humility and one is gratitude. So one can chant Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarodapi Sarishana, Amanina, Manadena, Tirtani, Yasada, Harihi. One can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking himself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So in the association of devotees, we are able to practice these things much better. And in fact, we can do that to even all our fellow devotees, family members, show them some gratitude, tell them one or two things every day. They can tell one thing. Even if we don't tell them directly, at least we can think for ourselves, like, what is it that we are grateful to others? So many of our family members, friends, even people at workplace, they do so much for us. And we can show these gratitude in a small way by even thinking about it, then our lives can even become better. What to speak of the gratitude to Krishna himself? So here, it's my last but one slide. Here we have the position of a spiritual master. So in Indra's case, we see here what happens when there is a transgression with spiritual master. In the purport of Canto 2, Chapter 5, verse 7, Prabhupada says, following in the footsteps of Sri Narada Muni, one should not blindly accept his spiritual master as God himself. A spiritual master is duly respected on par with God, but a spiritual master claiming to be God himself should at once be rejected. So here is the position of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is respected as good as God. But if anybody's saying, if a spiritual master comes, and especially in this age of Kali, we have to be very careful that if there are so many bogus spiritual masters who might just claim themselves as God, and then we know that they are in the class of Pashandi. Pashandi means a bogus counterfeit. So they all fall below the fourth class. So what is the below? That is what is mentioned in the fourth class. So we have the four class: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. But then if you fall below that, you have so many other classes. And you'll have the Mlecha, who are, there is indiscriminate meat eating, and then there is Pashandi, which is a bogus counterfeit, and then you have Yavana, which has just gone foreign to the Vedic traditions. So in this way, there are Chandala, the dog eaters, so many are mentioned. So a spiritual master who's claiming himself to be God is a classic example of who's called as a Pashandi, or a bogus counterfeit. And then this is my last slide. So I think so. And so we constantly pray here for Krishna's protection. We can slip all the time, and it happens all the time we slip, but Krishna is always there to protect his devotee. Yoga Kshema Bhamyaham. This is a famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita, 9.22. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to this material condition. Kshema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga, and he becomes fully Krishna conscious, and the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable condition in life. Therefore, it's not that we have to be so cautious that we have to protect ourselves by not slipping at every stage. All we need to do is pray sincerely for Krishna's protection, and Krishna will take care of our slips. And Krishna will protect us from falling down. This slip of Indra is what is mentioned here. The Lord protects one from falling down. The Lord protects us. Tesham nithyabhyukthanam yoga kshema bhamyaham. So that Krishna himself will give the protection. Whatever is our deficiency, Krishna will fill. Not that we have the right for all these things, but a pure devotee has. So this is, so we need to pray for such a benediction. Whenever we have these prayers, we pray for such benedictions. And this is a verse which is cited in the purport of this. And it is also appears in the Antyalila Chaitanya Charitamrita 20.29. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim kavitamba, jagadisha kamai. Mama janmani Ishvara bhavatad bhaktihi ahitaki tvai. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I have any desire to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your costless devotional service in my life, birth after birth. All benedictions, all prayers they generally have these kind of benediction. Here is a prayer, and it has a kind of benediction that they are praying for. And what is the benediction that is being prayed for in this particular verse? It's for the costless devotional service, for us to achieve that platform of Shuddha Bhakti, or pure devotion. With that, I will stop this, and I again offer my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas assembled here. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you so much to Vinita Gandharvati Mataji for asking me to come and discuss this verse. And any comments, and if I made any mistake, please forgive me and please correct me in this discussion. I put together these slides quickly yesterday, so I might have committed some mistakes. So please forgive me for any offenses. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. That was really a very wonderful class with so nice slides which you had made. Every time you come, it's very relishing with all your slides. Very easy to understand also, actually. So very nice. I just like that about the tolerance which you had told from the Shikshashtaka. So very thank you so much for that, Prabhuji. Preeti Vilasni Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you for yet another beautiful class. Very, very nice compilation as always. Prabhu, I have two questions. One thing before I go ahead with the questions, I really liked one thing that you said, that just acknowledging and feeling grateful for everything around us. Doesn't matter what we have, what we don't have, but everything is a gift of Krishna, and just acknowledging that and expressing our gratitude actually makes us much happier people. I thought that was so beautiful. So thank you for that realization.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. So mentioning about
that that even though I stated it, it is not really my realization. It was actually mentioned in a lecture of His Holiness Radhanath Swami, and I just directly took it from there. So just a disclaimer. So thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much also for telling from where it is. Thank you. So, Prabhu, this is about the list of demigods, 33 million. In the passing, when you were talking about the Maruts, you did mention that they fall under the 33 million. So my question is a little, detail. I'm just asking the details. So when we talk about the 33, generally we account it, the 33 number, to the Ashtavasus, Dvadasha Adityas, Ekadasha Rudras, and the Ashwini Kumaras, the two Ashwini Kumaras, which make 33, and then we say they are descendants of the 33 million demigods. So when we talk about the Maruts, so do we mean that when we include them in the 33 million list, do we mean to say that they're considered as descendants of the Adityas in one sense, because though they were born of Diti, later the 49 Maruts were given the brothers of Indra as the descendants of Indra. So like that, are they considered within the 33 is my question. Was it too convoluted?
Can you, what is the last thing you said, Mataji? Or what is what or what?
So the 49 Maruts. So when we say they are a part of the 33 million, as the family of the Adityas, because later Diti, once they were protected, they were given as the brothers of Indra or the So in that sense, are they considered to be within the 33? Because it is the Vasus Ashtavasus that are directly in the initial 33, right? Not the Maruts. That's what I'm.
So this is it's not that it could be either way, Mataji. I'm not so sure about what the correct thing is, but it is mentioned in the commentary of if you see here that in many of the commentaries, the Maruts are classified as classified in the 33 principal demigods as well, but perhaps you're right, and that they're probably not in the 33 principal demigods, and they're there in the 33 million. So I'm not so sure, Mataji, of the classification, but I thought the Maruts were there in the 33, but I may be wrong.
They are already 49, right? That's why
the count has already come to 33 with 8 Vasus, 12 Adityas. Okay, and then you might be right, Mataji.
Yeah, because the Maruts themselves are 49, which is higher than 33. So
that's that's true, Mataji. So if that is the case, then probably they're not classified in the 33. So 33 principal demigods.
They are in terms of descendants, which you. Yeah, thank you for that. I think
I don't have anything further there, Mataji, but if anybody else wants to add, please. Thank you.
The other question I had was in the 6th canto, when they manifest as the sons of one of the daughters of Daksha, and you said names, right? So can you also show us the names, because I don't know where the verse is. If you can just bring the names so that I can have a screenshot of the different names, which was mentioned in the original Swayambhuva Manu period, and the names that are mentioned in this Manvantara, Chakshush Manvantara.
Which sons, Mataji?
We are talking about the second set of Rudras that is in this Manvantara. The Rudras.
Okay. Oh, the names. Okay, so they are in verse 6.6.17. Let me just open it. I just didn't put there because just for confusion's sake, I just didn't put those 11 names. And let me see. Bhagavatam 6.6.17. Okay, the names are Raivata, Aja, Bhava, Bhima, Vama, Ugra, Vrishakapi, Ajay Kapat, Ahir Bradna, Bahurupa, and Mahan. These are the 11 Rudras in the mentioned in 6.6.17.
Okay. Yeah. So they don't have any names like Shiva or Shankara.
No, they don't.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Very nice class as always.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Meetaji. Sureshwar Sham Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Like very nice, interesting, and crisp, very crisp class, Prabhu. Prabhu, my question is like you were saying Brihaspati, that Jupiter planet, right? And Sukracharya is Venus planet. Does it mean that they're what does it mean, Prabhu? Like
so just as like how we have the sun god as the sun planet, and we have the Chandra is the moon planet and the moon god. In the same way, the spiritual master of the demigods is Brihaspati. For an impersonalist, they are able to, those who don't have faith in the Lord, they are able to just see the planet Jupiter, okay, the globe of Jupiter. However, the theist is able to see that the personality who is causal for the planet is Brihaspati. In the same way, like when we see the sun planet, we are just able to see a ball of fire, a luminous planet, but the theist is able to see the sun god who is riding the chariot and who is the cause for the globe sun. In the same way, Brihaspati is the personality of Jupiter, and he is the spiritual master of the demigods. In the same way, Shukra, and we can see that even from the words and when we have Shukravar, right? I mean, like your Shukra is Venus, and and he is the personality of Shukracharya is the personality of Venus. So does that? I don't.
Yes.
Is an answer? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Lalitangi Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your wonderful class, your efforts to put together all the Devatas reference from so many literatures. That helps a lot, Prabhuji, to understand. So also this is very much important for doing the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, because when reading Bhagavad Gita, I didn't make, I mean, I couldn't get much about these devas. So, Prabhu, one question. There is a story that Prabhupada quotes in the 6th chapter about a sparrow being helped by Garuda. And Garuda comes and, Garuda says that I'm going to dry up the ocean myself. So I was wondering if you can shed some light on this. Is this really happened? Is this in any Puranas or any references for the story? And also about Garuda, we know about his birth a little bit, but if you can tell more that how is he able to dry up the ocean? This will be especially helpful when we are taking the Bhagavad Gita classes for new people, and also giving them a little information if they have any questions on this.
So, I will, so as for determination, so this is what Prabhupada says, one should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her eggs. This is, I'm just putting context to what Mataji said. Sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal. So the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for the impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate towards his small sister bird. And so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. The Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. The sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. And I actually don't know, Mataji, where exactly this comes from. And nor is it there, but it is mentioned in many other places. Prabhupada has mentioned it. So, he's mentioned in his lectures. He has mentioned his morning conversations and so on, but I really don't know exactly where this is appearing. So if anybody wants to add to that, but there is one thing I found, which is in, but it is definitely there in the Puranas. That much is there, because if you see in a morning conversation, Los Angeles, 21st December, 1968, there, Prabhupada, there is a final question which was asked by Toshna about the validity of the story of the sparrow and the ocean. You should know that everything that is found in the scriptures is factual. This is not an allegorical description. This is what it's there in a letter. This is a letter written to Harer Nama, Los Angeles, 21 December 1968, that this is not an allegorical description. Prabhupada says that this is it's taken from an authentic Vedic source in Purana, but there is no mention of which scripture, but the story of the sparrow is found in the Puranas. But if someone can tell which Purana it is, I don't know. But Prabhupada says it is not an allegorical description and everything is factual. So that is all the information I remember or got. Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for that piece of information from Prabhupada's letter. And Prabhu, anything you can shed light on Garuda, if whatever we can know a little bit?
So, as an eternal servitor of the Lord, there are so many things to share about Garuda. But in fact, we can do a few lectures just on him. But I'll just mention one thing just for the interest of the audience and so on. That out of the 18 Mahapuranas, you can see that there are 6 of them in the mode of goodness, and meant for those in the mode of goodness. And one of them is one Mahapurana is the Garuda Purana. So the Garuda Purana, so that tells us the significance of Garuda, and that there is a Mahapurana classified with his name there. But there is a very distinct feature of this Purana, which probably I'll share out of the, just thought of sharing this, that most of the Puranas, you have different devotees sharing the information. Like if you see in the Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami is answering questions, okay? But the Garuda Purana is a very different kind of Purana, where Garuda is asking questions to the Lord, and the Lord, Narayana, is answering the questions to Garuda. And the focus is, it's sort of a direct conversation with Garuda has, and it's a very good Purana to read as well. And we have so much information in Garuda Purana, and many of what the Bhagavatam summarizes parts of what Garuda Purana says in the 5th canto, in the last 2-3 chapters, it summarizes. But the Garuda Purana is so detailed in the activities of the soul after this birth, and it gives also description, a good amount of description of Garuda. And we will, at this moment, because of the verse is not directly dealing with Garuda here, I'll just stop here, that if there is an occasion, some other occasion in this Bhagavatam discussion in the Bhakti Sangha Japa group, I will elaborate a lot more on Garuda, but there is just so much to talk about it. So thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. All your classes are very, very enlightening and helping us understand the scriptures more. We are very grateful for the efforts you put in, Prabhuji, and explaining to us. Thank you so much.
Very motivating. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Prahaladanand Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mataji, and Danvat Pranam to Jayananda Prabhu and all Vaishnavas here. Prabhuji, I don't have a question, but I was a little amused when you mentioned about the Pashandis. In my effort to do some book distribution here, I come across so many Pakhandis, and also I see their prevalence in other sects. Especially in Gujaratis, we call them Pakhandis instead of Pasandi. It's just upper pronounce. But there is a reference of this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I understand, in the Adi Lila chapter 17. I would just quote from there. It says, the word Pasandi refers to non-believers engaged in fruitive activities and to idolatrous worshippers of many demigods. Pasandis do not believe in one God, the Supreme Personality Lord Vishnu. They think that all demigods have the same potency as he. The definition of Pasandi is given in Tantra Shastra. Haribhakti Vilas is quoted there. Yastu Narayan Devam Brahmarudradi Daivata Samatvena Vikshena Sa Pakhandi Bhavadruvam. A Pakhandi is one who considers the great demigods such as Brahma and Lord Shiva equal to the Supreme Personality Lord Vishnu or Lord Narayan. So, this is little reflection which I had. And I know so many Gujaratis and so many, sects, they believe in Guru Hari. They bypass Lord Sri Krishna. They establish another person as above Lord Sri Krishna. And his appointed agents are considered as Guru Hari. This kind of bluff is going on all over. A lot of educated, erudite guys, they follow this kind of philosophy, on Mayavad kind of thing. So this is just a little reflection. I'm so fortunate that I have a, association of erudite Vaishnavas like you and, Bhakti Sangha group, where I get enlightened every time I attend a class. So thank you very much to all. And then with Pranam Prabhuji.
Thank you. That was very nice. And also,
thank you so much, Prabhuji. So some comments are there, Prabhuji.
I'll open it.
Vrinda Gopika Mataji, Jayananda Gauranga Hari Prabhuji, everyone are saying very nice class. And Aditi Mataji also, Lalita and Dinabandhu Prabhuji.
Yes, there is this one thing. Ashwini Kumaras are sons of sun god. Yes. Saturn is also son of sun god. And then Ashwini Kumaras, yeah, they're all born to sun.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
The only difference is the mother. In the case of Saturn, the mother is Chaya. And then he forms an enmity with sun god because of the kind of position of Chaya. And then that is why even in astrologically, Saturn does not like sun. So when you have if you see the zodiac sign of Leo, which is the sign of the sun god, okay, that is his natural house. When Saturn comes there, he doesn't like it. It's not his. He is not in a. He doesn't favor that at all. But there are. It's considered as a house of enemy. So he does not like his father. In the same way, Ashwini Kumaras are born to the sun god as well.
Indulekha Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for such a brilliant class, Prabhuji. I just had a quick question. Prabhuji, you were talking about the 12 Adityas. So how does Indra fall as the son of Mother Aditi? So you said they're all sun gods, right?
So Mataji, so generally, when we say the children of Aditi, or the demigods are all children of Aditi. And here, the born to, there are two ways by which you can see this. One is that these 12 Adityas, okay, they're all controllers of the universal affairs, okay, but they also have roles with reference to the sun god. So the sun god this is not the daily cycle of the sun god, but the monthly cycle. If you see, this is in the Canto 5, okay, there are some brief descriptions of this, but the detail appears in the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there it talks about the same 12 Adityas, okay, that every month, one of these Adityas will climb on the chariot and they will assume the personality of the sun. Okay, so when we have Viveshwan, okay, he's there for 1 month, and then Aryama, and then Pusha, and so on. But then the only difference between this and what is in the 12th canto of the sun god is that the name Vamana appears here, but there it is just mentioned as Vishnu. Otherwise, it is just exactly the same. So it's not very different. So, but the only thing what we need to say is, like, when we say the Gayatri mantra and so on, you know, when people just use the word Savita, so we just assume that it's just sun god. But he is one of the 12 Adityas, and he does the role of the sun god for 1 month. That is Savita. Okay, like when you say Tat Savithur Varenyam, so that's Savita. Okay, so he comes for 1 month, so like that. So, but basically they perform the same. That is their job as a universal affair. They do this. So, but other than this, they do other things. Like when, for example, not that Vishnu in one of the months alone, he comes and does the thing as the sun god, but he also comes as Trivikrama, and he comes, and that is what is mentioned in 6.6.13. So they are the same thing, but they perform different activities.
Yes, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Wonderful explanation.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji, Prabhuji. So, Preeti will answer Mataji saying one of the sun representative Adityas is also named Indra. He also appears to take a role to represent.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is there any significance in also, I was sorry for interrupting Anita Mataji. I was just wondering, is there any significance in the number? Why is it that the number is always steady? We see that the names are changing constantly, but why are there specific numbers? Is it because they have specific functions? Like you have the 12 Adityas and you said each for 1 month. So.
It could be the combination of all these things, Mataji. Like, for instance, like the 11 Rudras, you know, like if you check the Upanishad, like Brihadaranyaka Upanishad or, even in the Rig Veda, they also talk about the different airs which we are breathing, and the life air that comes out. So like destruction. So when the body is destroyed, the life air comes out. So they are classified here as like 11, the 11 airs as 11 Rudra. So in this way, there are some differences in what exactly they are talking about. So, so in this way, we can say that maybe there is one of the reasons could be that, like you say, 12 months. So you have 12 Adityas. So in this way, there are like 49 Maruts, because there are 7 broad classification of winds, and then 7 subdivisions. So in this way, there are fixed numbers. And at the same time, there is the other aspect as well, and that is the kind of creation which Krishna, even though he's not directly in touch with creation, but he's the ultimate creator as a transcendental autocrat. So this is how he has done things, and this is how the universal affairs are managed. So there can be at least two broad kinds of reasons there. One is the whatever Krishna wants, he can do. And then the second is, as you said, there are ways by which universe is managed, like 12 months, 12 Adityas, like this. So it could be a combination of all these reasons. So
thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your time. Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I don't see any more hand raise or any more questions in the chat box. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. We can end our call here. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we can pay our obeisances to Prabhuji. Thank you for your association and time, Prabhuji, and we want your association again in future. And if possible, is it possible for you to share this PPT, Prabhuji, with us all?
No problem. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So let's pay our obeisances to Prabhuji. Vancha kalpatrupasya kripa sindhupe Anantakoti Vaishnavindiki Jai. His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Prabhuji ki Jai.
Jai.